Welcome to the roast of Derek X. If there's some hardcore Derek X fans watching this probably is not the video for you if you're going to be sensitive, because I need to rip apart Derek X's game. You know, Derek X, Ozza, and Hannah have probably been the people whose games have dragged the least because they haven't gotten on my nerves. But Derek X has played piss poorly winning this HOH. And he is a fucking train wreck. You know, I think the HOH competition being the ship thing, the ship situation, was maybe an omen because I feel like Derek X's game is sinking. First of all, let's go back to these past 2 weeks and why Derek X failed to lay groundwork for his own game and instead has just been trying to play both Kyland and Tiffany's games for them. And we will talk about this more on the rankings that will air hopefully sometime later today. But I've been saying I don't understand why Derek X has not included Hannah more in things. Yes, he's been trying to keep Hannah safe, but then not communicating with her just hurts his own game. I kind of get it with Ozza. It's kind of a back and forth thing with Ozza. And today, Ozza and Derek X finally actually made a deal to keep each other safe for at least 2 weeks, if not 4 weeks. It was like they won't put each other on the block in the next 2 weeks. And they promised that they won't send the other home in the next 4 weeks or something. But at least they finally made a deal. But anyway, Derek X has failed to set up a groundwork for his own game, and he had the opportunity. Even if the cookout didn't exist, I feel like Derek X played it really poorly. So with the cookout existing or not, the game Derek X has played has just not been good. We all wanted to see him grow in this game, but like I said at a point last week, I feel like he was hitting his peak and was kind of going downhill. And I think him winning HOH really puts it into perspective that he is out of depth in this game and he has just been playing Kylan and Tiffany's games for them because all of the scenarios he's been running as HOH really benefit other players, like players in the cookout, more than him. But even if the cookout didn't exist, he did not lay groundwork for his game. There is no reason for him to continually downplay Hannah's abilities in this game, for him to continue not respect her as a player. What he should have been doing is making a strong, real game talk duo with Hannah, but he keeps all this information from Hannah. Hannah plays a little part in it because she talks a little too much to people. And both of them just go to Tiffany or Kyland and talk about each other rather than talk issues out themselves. But now Hannah is upset because she learned about the royal flush from a slip up and has been upset with Derek X and Tiffany, probably a little more so with Derek X. I feel like because Tiffany at least tells her more truths than Derek X still continues to do, and Derek X still continues to not respect her game. And it's really annoying because the guys in this fucking game, Derek X says that Hannah's emotional and Hannah takes everything at face value. And look at fucking Derek X now as HOH, taking things as face value. So today, Derek X's original plan was either Brittany. Well, Brittany was going to be a pawn no matter what. And then either Derek F or Sarah Beth. Tiffany kind of talked him into Sarah Beth, even though there was points in the day when he was kind of getting talked out of it. Then Hannah talked him back into Sarah Beth over putting up Derek F. So Sarah Beth and Brittany the nominations. But then he has a conversation with Sarah Beth and spills the plan to Sarah Beth that his real plan is to backdoor Christian and Alyssa. Well, basically Christian. On one hand, it's kind of good. It puts Sarah Beth in a situation where she has to go along with the plan because she can't rat it out to Alyssa or Christian because then her own ass could be on the line. However, falling for the fact that Sarah Beth and Kylan want to just suddenly work with him and make a final three to him, and he's trusting Sarah Beth more than fucking Hannah. He's telling more information to Sarah Beth than fucking Hannah. The guy just nominates Sarah Beth and has not been trusting Sarah Beth too much. And she made a good point that they're on the bottom of the royal flush, but who gives a fuck about the royal flush? Derek X is about to blow it up anyway if his backdoor plan works. So nothing Derek X is doing really makes any kind of sense. It's very Frenchy like to put someone on the block and then try to make an alliance with them. Look how that worked out for Frenchy. He went home the next week. It boggles my mind how he's had weeks to actually develop his own game. He should have been developing shit with Hannah and Azah outside of the stupid big alliance that he was at the bottom of, which is why even if the cookout didn't exist, the fact that he knows he's at the bottom of this alliance but doesn't want to have something on the outside speaks that he did not learn fast enough in this game. He did not. And he has made a mess of the situation. I mean, it's boggling my mind that he is telling more information to Sarah Beth than Hannah. Let's get to some of these other players first. Xavier's still trying to protect the Kings. I mean, I'll talk about it more on the rankings, but Xavier is doing this because, of course, he wants the Kings and jury. It's 3 votes for him, so he hopes, if he doesn't do something to them to make them bitter. But it makes sense why he's trying to protect the Kings, kinda. But you know, Xavier plays everything under the radar. He tries to play it safe, and I think it's kind of working, but it ain't working with Tiffany, because now Tiffany is seeing that Xavier's trying to protect the Kings rather than trying to protect the cookout, even though, you know, Tiffany's a hypocrite per usual because she's always trying to protect her people too. Plus, then we had Hannah admitting to Claire about Tiffany's slip up about the royal flush, letting Claire know she knows about the royal flush, which I found interesting. And I think that put Claire in a mood for half of the day. Claire realizing Tiffany's been a little sloppy because they have too much shit going on. But we are already starting to see both Kyle and Tiffany wanting to take kind of shots at each other. You know, that's why Tiffany wants Sarah Beth out so much, because Kylan's so close to Sarah Beth. But Tiffany also has this thing where she finds somebody in the cookout to have a problem with every fucking week. First it was Azah for no reason. I mean, it was because, you know, Brittany and that situation. And then it was Kylan, and now it's Xavier and Kylan. So Tiffany does this on a regular basis, but she always spirals late into the night and then changes her mind the next day. So you never know there. I mean, even now we're getting to a point because Hannah is realizing that she is not getting information from her supposed allies, that she's okay with blindsiding Derek X this week if Sarah Beth and Brittany are on the block, and if she wins veto, she doesn't want to use veto because she wants to send Sarah Beth home. And Tiffany and Claire also agree with the situation that maybe, you know, if they win veto, they don't use it, the noms stay the same, Sarah Beth goes home, there's no backdoor of Christian. Now, of course, I think they realize they can't completely blindside Derek X with that plan. But it really does go back to Derek X taking things at fucking face value when he's projecting so much shit onto Hannah. And all the guys in this game do this. They call fucking the girls emotional, and then Kylan's supposedly crying today after fucking Sarah Beth is nominated. The guys on this game have really annoyed me this season with the way they talk about the girls playing emotional, being emotional, and then they're the same fucking way, always projecting. As much as I've shit on Tiffany's game, I would much rather a girl win this season. And if it's Tiffany, I think she had to have played a great game to get to the end and win the game. I don't really want Alyssa or Sarah Beth to win. I think they've played like shit. But any other girl, I am cool with winning this game over some of these guys, especially the guys that have been fucking simping. All the guys have either been simps or they've been emotional hypocrites. But amongst all the chaos that is having unfolded during this HOH with Derek X really doing a lot, with Tiffany and Kylan playing their little game of chess about who's going to get the upper hand. You know who is safe amongst the chaos? Azza. Oz's social game has already been somewhat good. I mean, it could be better with players like Hannah. It needs to be better with players like Hannah. But she is stepping up with her already great social game. I've said before how her social game reminds me of early Survivor players and early Survivor winners, where she makes real, genuine connections with people. I mean, she has now volunteered to go on the block twice. I mean, she didn't really volunteer this time with Derek X. She said on Thursday night, if she has to go up, she has to go up. Today, she finally said she does not want to go up on the block for anybody else, like she wanted to do with Brittany. So she's woken up there at least. But I still think her social game is good because nobody really wants to truly put her on the block, except for Alyssa and Christian. But if the backdoor plan works this week, Oz's not going to be Alyssa's target. So I really do feel like Azza has worked herself into a good spot, but she still has a lot of work to do to keep herself in that good spot in this game socially. But another thing, there was a few weeks ago when Azza was getting all this shit from both the fan base and the players about being so emotional that her teammate was going up. Now teams are over, and look at everybody fucking now. We got Xavier still trying to protect the Kings. Where's the fucking uproar? We got fucking Kyland trying to protect the person close to her, close to him, Sarah Beth. And we have Tiffany always trying to protect the people that she wants to keep in the game, like DX and Claire. So, I mean, it's, once again, showing the hypocrisy. Everybody was shitting on Ozzy. Oh my God, why does Ozzy want to protect her team so much? And now teams are over, and we still have players trying to protect their fucking teams. I mean, I love getting the last laugh. I was telling people that they were being too harsh on Ozzy when everybody else is doing the same fucking thing. And I also said that if the Jokers could get through these weeks, they are in a good spot. The Jokers came to play today. Now, there is a shot Brittany goes home this week, but Brittany did play today. She just finally was on board with being a pawn, I think mostly because Derek X was able to explain the plan to her ahead of time rather than just blindsiding her as a pawn like Kyle and Xavier did. And Brittany has played this up today. She's thrown Kylan under the bus. It didn't really work because Derek X, for some reason, goes back and forth trusting Kylan or not. I don't know. That's a whole other story. But anyway, Brittany played today. Derek F had a great pitch to Derek X today on their one-on-one, talking about how Derek X just needs to take direct shots, how him, Derek X, and Kylan apparently have this thing to not take shots at each other. And it worked for him. We have Azza, whose social game's going great. She made that deal with Derek X. She's in good with a lot of people that just don't see her as a target right now, other than Alyssa and Christian. But this week could change that too. And then Azza's nobody's target if that happens. It's because I always seen that if the Jokers could just make it farther, and even if Brittany goes this week, I still think Derek F and Azza are in a good spot because you have Kylan and Derek X and Tiffany, who all have these egos trying to jockey for a position. And then if there is a split between Tiffany and Kylan, or even if the showman sticks around and the Kings still have some power, there are players in the middle because there's no way the Royal Flush goes much longer, especially if the backdoor works and it's over completely. But even if so, it's limping into one more week. And then you have players in the middle like Derek F and Azza who are not involved in this fucking chaos. So they are much better players than people have been giving them credit for. They have woken up. I've been saying for weeks now that Derek F has woken up. And Azza's already Azza needs to work on her fucking strategy game for sure. But she's definitely woken up in the game finally. And I don't think it was a bad thing that she's been under the radar. If Azza could figure out her actual strategies in this game and have this great social game, she's fucking one to watch for sure. But the Jokers in general, really in a pretty good spot in the middle right now, and possibly for another week if all goes well. Even if Brittany goes home, I think Derek F and Azza. It would be tougher if Brittany goes home to stay in the middle, but if Brittany does stay, then they're definitely just in the middle amongst the chaos. Now back to Hannah for a second. I feel like Hannah needs to do what Derek X did not do over the last 2 weeks. This is her chance for this week and next week to try and build her own shit. She needs to work on her relationship with Azza. She's already close enough to Tiffany and Claire, but she needs to just stay in this mindset that she's not getting all this info from her supposed allies and use this to her advantage to create some of her own shit. Next week, there's going to be a power, possibly something's going to be voted on from the fans. And if Facebook doesn't get their way to vote for somebody white, somebody like fucking Christian, if he stays around, I think it's going to come down to Derek X or Hannah. And with Derek X fucking up his game, I don't think he deserves it. I think Hannah is smarter in what she would do with the power. So I'm all for Hannah getting the power over Derek X. Because Derek X has proved with power, he's a fucking mess. The one thing about Hannah, though, she needs to not reveal the power to somebody. She needs to not pull a Bailey. And then the last thing I'll talk about with Tiffany and Derek X's relationship, which is another reason why Derek X is just having a really bad HOH right now. Tiffany has been trying to push it so that she can choose Derek X over Kyland. But yeah, here is Derek X now believing Sarah Beth at face value. And Sarah Beth and Alyssa have already talked about how they might backdoor Derek X next week if they can. So he should not be believing Sarah Beth at face value. But he's doing that and trying to work with Kylan and Sarah Beth now, and Tiffany's been trying, I don't know, it's a whole mess between Kylan, Tiffany, and Derek X. I think in the long run, Derek X comes out of this the worst because he doesn't have the cookout to fall back on. And he never built any groundwork with anybody. He could have built groundwork with Hannah. I'm telling you, Hannah was not completing the cookout. It was such a missed opportunity for Derek X to not be sharing information with Hannah this whole fucking time. And now he's trusting Sarah Beth over Hannah. Makes no fucking sense.